second time? Jeez, man. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing?
Where's Calvin?
Oh, God.
He already asked me a question walking in.
Right.
You're done.
That's true.
Clarence.
Then we move on to Clarence.
Do we announce our name or we good?
What's that?
Do we
In
announce
Indy,
our
you're
name?
fine. Yeah, in Indy, you don't have to announce
No,
your name.
thank you. I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
in Indy, you're
Can
fine.
you continue to add to the defensive staff? Can you talk about the latest edition, please? BT.
Specific names, BT?
Yeah.
Here's a guy that's been around Denver the last couple years. Love the way those guys have played, and he's a local guy, which is great, right there in Dallas. And so a ton of experience, what he helped those guys do in Denver in terms of getting the rushing the passer. And we started talking about BT. It was really interesting because Kenny Clark hit me up. Osa hit me up.
Right.
All these guys start hitting me up about, hey, we think about maybe adding BT on as a consultant, and they were thrilled. So really excited to get him in here, and he's obviously got great insight into the guys he's training.
Can you expound on your young staff? You know, you didn't bring in a older guy, you know, for them to consult. You're trusting these young guys, CP and all these young guys. Just talk about why that's important.
Yeah, you know me, Clarence, I'm energy, man. I'm energy, I'm connection. I think that's so important. You look at the guys, there's experience. Scott Simon's got a bunch of experience. There's a lot of NFL experience. I think 6 of the 9 have NFL experience. Age is a number, man. And I feel really strongly. It's been great for me this week to sit here in the mornings with those guys and listen to those guys talk about scheme and start to get the language right. And they've really become really close fast. And I think that's why we know we got the right group of guys.
Year 2, are you more involved than last year in this draft process?
Yeah, definitely because of the way I feel about Clayton and the offensive staff. I'm able to spend more time. The way we'll break things up, you know, Calvin is to do a little bit of morning stuff. I'll be with the offense, afternoon be with the defense, but I would say I'm more involved, yes.
Shotty, you mentioned that, you know, now that you're seeing these guys, this coaching staff, Christian Parker and his guys, in the capacity of meetings and things like that, what are you seeing most from them now in their process that you hadn't seen yet in Frisco that affirmed that you have made the right choice?
You know, I think the vision of the player traits, what we're looking for to make this defense go, you know, we're changing some things, obviously going to the 3-4. We're excited about that. I'm excited about the strength that we have in the front structure with our defensive staff, with Marcus Dixon doing the defensive line, you know, Chidera doing the outside linebacker, Scott Simons, who I think is an incredible coach we were able to get from right across the road. He didn't have to move, so he's the one coach not in the hotel. He's driving home every night, pissing the other coaches off. He gets to go home and be with his family, but just the vision of what these guys are looking for. And then again, it's not just about us doing that, it's us doing that with the personnel guys, the scouts that know these players that are here so well, and making sure we're all aligned and on the same page.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that process of trying to kind of fit the vision and how quickly that had to be done before you got here to Indy?
Yeah, a lot of long hours. You know, it's part of the process when you make a big change like we made. The one thing I knew about CP coming in was there was conviction, there was clarity of what he wanted. But to hear him communicate with his staff and to have them have those conversations, disagreements, getting on the same page, whether it's height, weight, speed, whether it's characteristics, toughness, ability to track a ball, you know, the lower body explosiveness for a corner that we're looking for. It's been a really cool dialogue for me to sit in there and listen to those guys, and it's been fun.
How last year with Micah, you guys, when you went through the Micah stuff, with George this year, if he does or doesn't show, how do you deal with all that stuff? How do you maintain contact with George if he's not around? What would you like to see happen?
Yeah, again, you know, this is going to play out the way it's supposed to play out. GP loves football, and my relationship with GP doesn't change, just like it didn't change with CD or Dak or those guys that were going through certain things, and it's all part of the process. It's the business side of it, but hell, I was talking to CD last night, and so, you know, it doesn't change.
How important was it to get Javonte signed?
It was awesome. It was a big piece of what we wanted to do. Because of the changes that we're dealing with, John, on defense and all the change on the staff and having some holes we need to fill, to get a piece like Javonte back that's still young and still, I think, ascending football player, his play style, his leadership. But a big part of it was he wanted to be here. And so we wanted him back, he wanted to be here, but I love everything about the guy, and he's a guy that I really feel like can help push this offense even to another level.
What do you think the biggest problem the NFL offenses are trying to solve?
Right now, the problems the offenses are trying to solve, I think the biggest thing I would say is how defenses now are taking second and long and they're attacking like third down. So if you don't win first down, if you don't get ahead of the sticks on first down, second down becomes more like third down where you're getting the all up and the double A gaps and the cross dogs and the loaded fronts and things like that. So I think there's a premium right now, I know for us, about wanting to win first down.
We've seen an influx the last couple of years of first-round tight ends. Why do you think teams are prioritizing those guys earlier in the draft?
Yeah, great question. We talked about this a little bit the other day in our personnel meeting. You know, number one, they're weapons. Number two, most of them have really good size. Talking about tight ends. I was fortunate enough to be involved in watching Antonio Gates become Antonio Gates. From the time he tried to in rookie minicamp get down in a three-point stance and didn't look very good, to now being 2 years in the Hall of Fame. I think you're seeing so much nickel defense now that teams are playing nickel with bigger body guys like Derwin James, the guy in Seattle, these big athletes. And so what the tight ends do, they have the bodies to either block up or match up in blocking schemes or to get open with body control against those big safeties that are now playing near the box.
2 first-round picks. How does that change your approach to the draft, like from last year to this year? And what excites you about having 2 first-round picks?
Well, again, the flexibility, the firepower to do things however we want to mix and match those things. Jerry and Steve want to do a great job with that, but the process stays the same. I think we're just getting started. It's been great to be here and be around these elite athletes, but really to get to know them on a deeper level. I really enjoy listening to the football part, but I like talking to the kids. I like talking to get to know these guys, what they're about, what they like to do when they're not doing football. Tell me about some adversity you've been through and how you handled it. But the process has been really cool. So the way we kind of do it is just to share is like the guy comes in, we'll have an introduction, we'll teach them something. I think that's important. I think you have to teach them something because these guys are very, very well schooled now on what the interview is going to look like. The agents should be given a lot of credit. They've done a great job. These guys know what they're walking into. They hire former coaches to come in and do that. So we feel like it's important to teach them something. Then we jump into their film, which they're very, very comfortable talking about their film, good plays, bad plays, to kind of distract them, if you will. And then we kind of tie it together at the end. We'll quiz them and see what they can retain. Why would you do it that way? You do it that way because that's kind of what an installation's like in the off season, in a meeting room. Then next thing you know, you have to go out on the field and do that again. So. And then we finish up with some questions to get to know them.
You guys are going into this draft with.
Do you expect George Pickens to be with you long term?
I hope. Again, I think everything that I've been around George from the time he got here, from the time he came in, and I say this respectfully, and I kicked his ass in shooting free throws in my office. He might not remember it that way. I knew this guy's a competitor and he loves football, so I hope so.
How do you gauge the hunger of these guys now they're coming out? They're financially more secure than what they are. When you're doing that evaluation.
It's a great question too. I think you ask a lot of questions, but you watch the film, and we show examples of them maybe loafing, and see how they handle that, and the guys that kind of. They get pissed off about it. You can tell that they love it, but the play style in the video never lies, and so I think you kind of start with that. And we do deep dives, talk to a lot of people, position coaches, guys they've trained with in the off season, and there's no stone unturned when you're talking about looking into the background of these guys before you bring them in as part of your family.
You guys have so many. You guys have several needs on the defensive side of the ball. 2 first-round picks. As you guys are building your board, do you build it to the true BPA, or what's the challenge of balancing BPA plus need?
Yeah, again, you got to go best player available. And that's part of the deal. You look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb, right? And you're not thinking you need a receiver. He's sitting there. If you pass on him and you watch him to go on and have a great career, you can't do that. So our job is to develop the guys that are on the roster. We look forward to adding pieces through free agency, but also the draft. But my opinion, I know Jerry and Steven feel the same way with Will. You got to pick the best player available.
Tyler Smith has surgery. Any other guys have surgery? Has had surgery since the end of the season?
Yeah, but nothing major. I mean, Tyler's fine. A couple cleanup things, but nothing major.
It's no secret that you guys need multiple defensive starters this offseason, not only in free agency, but the draft, and now that you're starting to get an understanding of Christian Parker's vision, what are the type of players you guys are going to be going after?
Again, guys that can learn, guys with great football intelligence. We want to be multiple. We've got the 3-4, but we're going to play a bunch of nickel. We're going to play a lot of shell defense. You guys have all seen the Fangio shell system where it all comes out, and you need guys that can run to the ball and can tackle. You need guys that are great communicators, because when you're going to be multiple and have the rules and the scheme flexibility that we have, you need guys that can adjust on the run. But again, I'll say this again about Christian and really all the staff, but Christian specifically. I love the fact that he was able to bring in a player like Cooper DeJean and Q Mitchell and get those guys to play early. Again, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to get guys, draft guys, evaluate guys, sign guys, and make them play early like we've done a little bit on offense.
And Christian has talked about how important that nickel spot is. Is that a position you guys are really going to be seeking out, or do you feel like there's options on the roster?
I think it's an important position in pro football, so of course we're going to be looking for it. And there's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of ways to address the nickel position. But when you listen to Christian's vision and Derek Ansley and guys like that, you hear them talk about what's so hard about playing nickel in this league is you have to cover like a corner, tackle like a linebacker, and blitz like a safety. And that's real. And so that's why I think those guys are of such great value.
Caleb,
Have you talked to George at all since the season ended?
I'm not.
Will you anticipate trying to talk to him
Oh, yeah.
before the
Absolutely.
tag comes?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have signed veteran linebackers the last couple of years. Who do you say you are right now at that position?
At linebacker?
Yeah.
Again, first guy I'm going to start with is Demo. Really excited about Demo. I know when I talked to Demo about both CP and Scott Simons, he was really excited. He's excited about an offseason, for the first time in a while, which is what young players need, certainly guys as talented as he is. Again, we've got some guys that we're excited about that are young. I think Shamar James is a guy that showed up last year for us. The instincts are real. He was swimming a little bit, but he always found the ball, which I think is great. Justin Barron's a guy that we're excited about. Marist Luafau, we're going to move him to outside linebacker. That kind of fits his strengths, right? He's got length, he's got long arms, he's really good at disrupting the ball. So we'd like to build some more depth there and find another guy or two. But again, we've got some young pieces that Scott and the entire defensive staff have to develop.
Talk about moving guys around. You got those three different tackles. How do they fit in this 3-4? Who's the nose? Who's the end? I mean, I don't know if Kenny's the nose. How do you envision those guys looking?
Yeah, again, we're going to move them around quite a bit, to be honest with you. Obviously, Kenny has the most experience playing nose. Quinnen obviously has been a 3. He's been in the attack front for a long time, and I know he was excited about the fact of being able to potentially stay in that, but 3-4 is the best thing for us. And Quinnen Williams is great in any system. Right. You give Quinnen a chance to play at the 3, and be very, very clear, this 3-4 defense is not the old 2-gap, where you sit there and you're reading blocks. We will be getting vertical, and we will be using our hands and shedding. Osa's got the ability to play same thing, the 3, the 4-eye, or the 5 for sure. He's got the length to do that. But at the end of the day, why do you like the 3-4 as an offensive coach? Because you're forcing the offense's hand in a pass protection world. You're making them 5-0 things and block one-on-one. And if you give us those one-on-one opportunities, it's usually going to be pretty good for us with the talent that we have inside.
Shotty, how excited?
Say again?
What's Leofau's pass rush?
Good, yeah. I mean, good. He doesn't have the great twitch, but he's got the strength to knock guys back. But again, the length is what just jumps off the film. And he was excited about that. We've talked to Marist about that. He was excited about that. And again, he can eat a little bit more to get his weight back up a little bit. So he's excited.
The Edge group has 2 guys under contract. One of the benefits of that is you can kind of build it however you want to see fit. Do you see a healthy balance of veterans and rookies, or would you rather have more of a balance of younger guys? How do y'all see it?
Yeah, no, again, I think as we go through this process, we'll see how free agency goes. That's the first line of action, if you will, as we go through this process. But again, I see it being built with some veterans and some young players. I think, I feel really, really good about Easy and what he's capable of. You actually saw him do those things that we see. Remember, these outside linebackers for us, the first thing that they're going to do is, number 1, set the edge in the running game. Number 2, they're going to affect the damn quarterback. Okay, and then occasionally they'll drop. The really good ones, you don't drop them very often, but you do it a little bit. And so what you want to see with guys like that, which we saw this year with Donovan, was when they drop, are they comfortable? Do they have movement skills? Do you see them? They look like a fish out of water. And all those answers for him are very, very positive.
And now under this new system, you see him more as an outside guy?
Yes, he's an outside linebacker.
You mentioned DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell for Christian Parker, obviously Passer Tan to what he did there. How much does what CP did with those kind of guys maybe intrigue you to try to get a young, talented corner like that?
Yeah, and it does, of course. We're looking at that, but I think also we have a couple young guys we're excited about. Deron Bland is not a finished product. Deron needs to, he didn't have his best year last year. He knows that. He's looking forward to working with CP and Derek Ansley and Ryan Smith and those guys. And Siobhan, Von's going to take a big step this year. Finally healthy, finally feeling good. Kalen Carson, Quez. You know, we've got talented guys that need to be developed, and that's part of our job. We're not just in this business of, okay, we're going to go draft players. We're going to have a very specific improvement plan with a plan of action for all those guys where there's 3 things at each guy. Hey, we want to get them better at these 3 spots, and then not just that, but how we're going to do that. What are the steps to do that?
As you look at the draft, how important are long arms for defensive end, outside, and linebacker?
It's important because you're setting edges, you're using your hands when you're going pass rush. It's important. They don't come in all shapes and sizes. Brandon Graham was the guy we actually talked about the other day, right? In this system, he's kind of an outside linebacker that's got the flex to move inside. He doesn't have very long arms, but man, he's a powerful guy. So I would say it's something that you would like to have, but it's not the end all be all.
Offensively, what's the process like for you now that teams have a full year's worth of your play calling with this personnel, of balancing what worked really well for you versus trying to stay ahead of the curve of what defenses might throw at you?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to study us because we were so powerful and explosive last year. Biggest thing is always evolve, man. We have to evolve. If you're not evolving in this league, everybody's studying. They're going to know what you do. They're going to have your tendencies down, especially the early opponents. But there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of things we can clean up. It starts with taking care of the football better.
What does that evolution look like in your mind, and what are some of the things, aside from taking care of the ball, that you feel like you need to clean up?
Yeah, again, a starting point for us right now is we're ripping through the cut-ups, all the areas. We're kind of deep into that, so we're getting an idea of what we do well, okay, things we need to improve, how those things fit. Do we need those things, or are we better off finding different things? And then you get into the research and development part of this after we get back from the combine and into the spring, and you start studying other people. And again, we're not opposed of looking and stealing ideas from people, but we don't just rinse and repeat those things. We look at them, how do they fit us? Can we make it better? How does it fit us better? And so that's a huge part of it. And that's the college game as well, because there's everything that comes from college. You know, it's all making its way up into our league.
Sorry, what did it do for you to hear that one of Christian Parker's reasons for coming to the Cowboys was because they're such a prolific offense? And how does that go to speak to his belief in that if he can fix the defense, that you guys can be contenders?
Yeah, well, it's funny, Patrick, because it's what most of the coordinators said, that you talk to the candidates. That was a big part of it. But again, we have to continue to do our job on offense, and that's where the evolution is so important.
Ryan, what's it like to see Mike McCarthy back?
It was great. I got a chance to catch up with them the other day. Their suite is just outside ours. We caught up. Hadn't talked in a while. We've both been busy. We've texted a little bit. But he's great for the game, and I'm thrilled to have him back.
You do a great job of inspiring your players. What inspires you?
Wow. My family definitely inspires me. The players, you know, I think that's one of the reasons that I'm a great connector with these guys. I do love them, and then my faith.
How vital was Clayton Adams to you? Because I think you guys denied him an opportunity to be somewhere.
Yeah, Clayton's the best. I love Clayton. It was funny because when Nick called me, you know, there's different ways you can do it. You can send in slips and things like that. And Nick, of course, called me and said, hey, I got a question to ask you. I want to send a letter in for Clayton. I said, don't bother, buddy. I'm going to have to deny you on that one. He said, I'm not calling the plays. I said, I'm going to have to deny you. And so then we started talking about our kids. He was like, yeah, I would have done the same thing, but I had to ask. So, look, Clayton's a stud. His energy is amazing. And, again, Nick wasn't wrong for trying.
Clayton had said late in the year that he was really excited to sit down and really tinker with what they can do with 2 wide receivers that are that talented and the things that y'all can expound on when it comes to that, have a full offseason with it. Have y'all already started that process? And if not, what are you excited to do when that process does come around?
We have. You know, Nick, they've done more than I have because of the defensive search, all that stuff, but they've got a really good feel for what we've done and how we can build on it. And, again, starting point's going to be moving GP around. You know, I mean, GP's a guy that, again, he wants to be moved around. He likes it, you know, and it challenges him. It keeps him engaged and locked in. And but they've got a good start on that, and I got to get caught up a little bit.
At the end of the season, you questioned Tyler Smith.
With Javonte Williams signed already, do you see the running back room as complete, or is there still an opportunity to add?
We're always looking, but I would say I feel great about the room right now with Javonte back. Obviously, what he was able to do last year, I feel like we learned Javonte a little bit better in terms of how to take care of him later in the year. It was his first year being a bell cow. I thought Jaden really grew up as the year went on. Although he was working out with his Louis Vuitton shoes on the other day, I'm going to have to hit him up on those. Because they're not real Louis. I mean, that's just my big point. They're not real Louis. But Phil Maffa, love that. Malik Davis. And then, of course, Hunter Lepke. I mean, Hunter was a guy in my exit interview that was really good to visit with because he wants to be. He's like, Coach, I feel like I can help. I can do more, and I agree with him.
Have we settled on a plan for Tyler Smith?
Not yet, but again, we'd love to keep Tyler inside if we can. A big part of that's going to be how we develop these young guys. I'm thrilled. I saw Geit before we came here. He looks great. He feels great. He's working his ass off, both he and Nate. But we're going to play the best 5 guys. We feel like we've got something really special inside with those inside 3. With BB, Booker, and Tyler Smith, but we're not opposed to doing what's best for the football team.
We got one more.
Huffman and TJ Bass were 2 key interior depth guys for you guys. Are those 2 guys you want to have back?
TJ and who?
TJ and Brock.
Yeah, absolutely. Both those guys are studs. They're glue pieces for us. They're always prepared. They're ready. And both those guys could probably start for other teams in the league. We're just very, very talented, like I just talked about. And both those guys coming back would be big for us.
Okay, we got run.
Thanks, guys.
Next stop. Thank you, guys.
Tad, you want to go around the basket?
Yeah.
I'm going to see you guys at lunch tomorrow.
He's going to go around the
Calvin
first.
Fine.